So let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about Smackdown. Seems like it's so long ago. It's like, it's an eternity ago when we, Smackdown's on Friday and I don't get to talk to you guys until Monday. It feels like so much time has passed. But we got more Bloodline. The Bloodline rolls on. And Sami Zayn picked up a victory against Sheamus. WWE's behind Sami at this point. There's no doubt. They are all in on this Sami hype. And, the Usos have kind of fully bought in and they're backing up Sami, give him the distraction for the win. But Sami picking up a win against Sheamus is no joke. Like, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. They are behind Sami at this point 100%. Then we go to the back where the Usos send Sami off with Solo and they get jumped by Sheamus, which is kind of, I think, some foreshadowing to if Solo's not around, the group is in trouble, which, hint, Solo could be the defector. There is still an opportunity that we're not going to get Sami defecting. We're not going to get Jay, that it could be Solo. Solo could be the gate that opens up the elders of the bloodline to kind of try to tame Roman back down. More likely, though, they're reeling us in. They're getting us all in our feels and our emotions to kind of get behind Sami Zayn so they can just like go and just rip our hearts out. Like, that's what they want to do. They want to rip our hearts out. They want us to fall in love with the idea of Sami and the bloodline and then just pull the curtain or pull the tablecloth off of the table on us and us just be like, oh, shit. That's what they're trying to do, because it's going to be a rough night. It's going to be rough when Sami finally gets turned on. It might even be a little bit emotional. Like, Sami is that good. He can sell us on this idea. It might get a little bit emotional. But what does life look like after the bloodline? That's a big question in WWE, I think. And it's one reason they haven't pulled the trigger yet, because once you kind of disrupt the ebb and flow here of the bloodline and people tuning in to see the bloodline or tuning in to see the bloodline lose, what does life look like after the bloodline lose? You got to have a champion who can keep the viewership up the way Roman Reigns does and the bloodline does. A lot of things have to be set into place, and WWE have to be very sure, because I know from a fan's perspective, it's just a change in story, but from WWE's perspective, it's an entire change in a marketing plan. So it'll be interesting what life looks like after the bloodline. We also we saw Bray Wyatt still claiming that he did not attack LA Knight. There's so much to this Bray Wyatt. There's so many levels to this Bray Wyatt story that it's getting tough to stay engaged week in and week out, because we're being fed 30 seconds at a time. We're not even getting minutes anymore. We're getting 30-second promos from Bray Wyatt, and it's hard to stay focused for a long time when this is what we're getting. And I think that there's a possibility that Bray Wyatt's losing some casual fans. And that's not just coming from me. That's me going, I tend to go on to a few different types of wrestling websites. I have some websites that are obviously run by hardcore fans, and they have a hardcore fan base, and the message boards have a hardcore IWC tone. And then I hit a couple of websites that I can clearly see are more of the casual fans. It's casual news. The headlines are more generic. And when I go to those casual websites right now and I scroll down to the comments of those videos, there is a subculture of Bray Wyatt fans who are losing interest in this extremely quickly. And that's not to say that that's right or wrong, but they are. They're losing. And I would place myself in the middle of this spectrum. I'm not willing to not let Bray Wyatt have his time to flush this thing out and be patient. But I also am looking at this story and going, like, let's speed it up just a little bit. Let's do this. Let's not make this take 9 more weeks to actually get some real information, because we're getting teased Uncle Howdy. We're getting teased people getting attacked, but we're not getting any real information. At least when we were getting the QR codes, there was a fun of trying to decipher it. At this point, it's anybody's guess what's really going on. Is Uncle Howdy Bray Wyatt? Is Uncle Howdy another character? And so I think we're going to have to be fed a little bit more in the next 9 weeks. I don't know if we can make it all the way to the Royal Rumble without a lot of the casual fans just kind of losing interest in writing this story off. And I don't know that on the flip side of that, I don't think Bray Wyatt is as clever as the IWC is trying to make him seem, right? They're like, give him time to work. Give him time to unfold this like mystery that he has. But if it doesn't pay off, if it comes to be that this was just like some weird story that doesn't pay off and it's just more of the old Bray Wyatt, I think that like, what was it all for? And it's going to be highly disappointing. Did anybody catch Madcap Moss and Emma possibly hinting at dropping the Madcap gimmick, which is time. It's time to drop that gimmick. It doesn't make sense. That gimmick was perfect for the whole Corbin story. And what happened is Corbin moved on and Madcap was just kind of left in the dirt to flounder around. And they never gave him a proper move on from that story. So Emma told him, thank you, Riddick, which is the name that Madcap used before Madcap. So what are we going to call him on this show right now? We'll call him Riddick. I think we should call him Riddick. I think that's the proper name, Riddick Moss. So Riddick Moss. I like Riddick. I really do. I've pinned Riddick for a long time as the next big thing in pro wrestling. He's the next gen. I tend to believe that Riddick Moss is far more interesting than Austin Theory. And I think he's more suited for that top spot than Austin Theory. Austin Theory may have some kind of career path that follows maybe a Randy Orton, but I think that Riddick Moss could follow in the John Cena footprint. He's got the look, he's got the explosion, he's got the speed. They just got to get him a song that makes sense, get him a finishing move that makes sense, kind of package Riddick all together. And I think there's big things in the future for Riddick Moss. I just hope they don't let him flounder around so long that they release him or that they never figure out. They need to, consistent booking with Riddick Moss is important. Take 5 minutes of time on SmackDown a week. Put him in the ring. Let him have solid matches. Let him hit his finishing maneuver. Let him sell himself to the crowd and start to build him up in that kind of superhero John Cena spectrum. And I think Riddick Moss, I think he'll be fine. But right now, with Triple H booking, I don't know. I'm concerned. We got another NXT return. Guys, I don't know much about Tegan Nox. So I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and pretend like I could have gone and researched, but I'm going to ask you guys, what do I need to know about Tegan Nox? Because these NXT women are starting to pile up on me, and I'm starting to not recognize faces as quickly when I turn on WWE Women's Wrestling, right? Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Tegan Nox, Emma's back, Raquel Rodriguez, Mia Yim. These are all people that I don't have a long history with, so I don't know a lot about them. It feels like Triple H has finally accomplished his goal of turning the women's division into just his old NXT black and gold, which I'm not going to complain about, but you guys, that this is when I'm going to call on you guys to help me. What do I need to know about Tegan Nox? Because I don't know anything about Tegan Nox. I know that she had on some parachute-ass jeans that had a big-ass hole in them. They say something like she's got the sparkliest wizard. They seem to kind of try and reiterate that to me, but outside that, I don't know what am I supposed to know? Where should I be looking? Like, who is she going to align herself with? I have no clue on Tegan Nox. And she came out with Liv Morgan, so I guess she's aligning herself with Liv Morgan. I'll play the wait and see with Tegan Nox, but I'm telling you, like Candice LeRae, Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, Io Sky. While I do develop, I start to like Dakota Kai. And I've liked Candice LeRae. I don't know enough about them. I don't know their backstory. I don't know their NXT history, nor do I really want to go back and research all of that stuff. Triple H is going to have to do a better job of selling me on some of these people and explain to me why am I supposed to be a fan of Tegan Nox besides the fact that she wears parachute jeans that have a giant hole in them and she has rainbow hair. I'm going to need more backstory than that, Triple H. Just going to need that. And then we finished off SmackDown with the World Cup finale of Ricochet versus Santos Escobar. And Ricochet is your new 2022 WWE SmackDown World Cup champion. What the fuck does that mean? It means that he gets to go up against Gunther again. Again. We're doing this again. A little bit of a rinse and repeat, Triple H. Feels like a little bit of a rinse and repeat, Triple H, because I was all sold on Santos Escobar. He's the more interesting of the two characters, especially going into a program with Imperium and with Gunther. But obviously, once again, this is smoke and mirrors because the real thing we're supposed to be watching is Braun Strowman and Gunther. We're not supposed to be watching Ricochet. Ricochet got this win. It's a go America, go USA, USA. We won the World Cup since we can't win the World Cup in soccer. So that's what this was. It's a feel good moment for Ricochet. But I'm sorry, help me out here. The last time Ricochet fought Gunther, did he not get murdered in the ring? Was there not a point in time where Ricochet got kicked so hard in the chest by Gunther that I thought I saw his heart fall out of his back? That he whiplashed into the corner of the ring? Like, so we're doing this again. We're supposed to believe that once again, this is going to be a match that people want to watch. Now, I'm sure this is leading to something with some kind of partnership between Braun Strowman and Ricochet. I imagine that this is a feel-good moment because Braun went on Twitter and talked about small wrestlers. You know what? I'm going to sound a little bit like Braun Strowman right here. Not a fan. Not a fan of this as a main event. And I know I'm in the minority, so this isn't something that I'm not prepared to hear everybody disagree with, but I know I'm in the minority, but I don't think that was a main event match. I think that was a great match. It could have opened the card. I think you could have flipped around this match with Sammy and Sheamus, and I would have felt more fulfilled. But here's the problem. Here's my problem with flippy wrestlers, I think. They're very generic in that they don't do much to differentiate themselves, right? And as far as Ricochet goes, nothing Ricochet does is not impressive, but nothing he does has a finality to it. I'm not even sure what Ricochet's finishing move is, other than I know he goes up on the ropes and he does a bunch of flips, but it doesn't have a cool name. It doesn't feel like the finality of a match. It just feels like kind of a flippy match. And so there were cool moves in that match when they jumped up on the ring, barrier, and they fought up there and they did a couple things, but like hitting the finisher off the top ropes, it doesn't have finality. It doesn't have finality to me. And Ricochet, for as talented as he is, I just don't feel like his finishing move has been built up enough to even seem effective, especially against someone like Gunther. I went on the internet to try to figure out what Ricochet's finishing move is called, and I couldn't find it. So I turned on my PlayStation 5, turned on WWE 2K22, and his finishing move is just referred to as the 630 senton. That just seems boring and lazy. Like, if you can't come up with a name for your finishing move, what are you doing?